Our Regulated Industries Committee meeting to order, our first one of the year. 2026 just sounds strange to the ears, doesn't it? But here we are. Appreciate everybody showing up today after a long day on the floor, hearing about all the evils of Minneapolis, like as if we could do something about it here in Georgia. That kept us late in session and delayed all our committees, so we're going to act promptly as we can here today. This is mostly leftover business from last year. Most of these bills passed out. Senator Huffstetler has said he is willing to defer to another day on his if we don't have time. So unlikely that we will deal with that one. We had agreed it would be a hearing only. There's so much conversation going on about data centers. We want to spend some time in this committee this year making sure Georgia's handling that situation right. Folks on the committee, you got all these bills in your folder in the order we're going to take them up. We had about 19 or 20 bills that were recommitted to this committee, most of which had passed last year and either got held up in rules or didn't make it to the floor before we adjourned last year. So some of these have already been through here and shouldn't be too time consuming. My good friend Chairman Hawkins came to us twice last year. In the last meeting, we didn't have a quorum to take action on your bill. I promised you you'd be first up this year, so you're the first House bill I'm going to take up is House Bill 571, and if you would present, it's easiest if you do that from the podium, Representative.
We heard this bill, y'all heard this bill twice. What you got before you was a substitute that we did not have a quorum to listen to hear this. This is a substitute that was actually created by all parties that had a little issue with the bill. So the substitute, the changes in this substitute from the last bill, page 5, line 107, 111, adds provision for non-invasive procedures under general supervision. Examples of the non-invasive procedures would be taking medical history, informed consent, that type of thing. Then on page 8, 171 changes. Right now it says January. I would ask for a change, a committee amendment to July on line 171 and 181. That gives the folks more time to go ahead and get their applications into the board. This thing has board oversight, the Composite Board of Medicine. As you remember, they've gone through this subject. They approved this, and then the last change is on page 8, 187. Again, it says general supervision for non-invasive procedures. Those were the changes in this substitute from the original bill heard by this committee.
Okay. I'm going to let you give us just a little more overview what you're trying to accomplish, because it has been, a year since we've heard it all.
Sure.
Just to refresh some of our committee members, and we've got a couple of new ones that may need to learn a little bit about it. I do want to make sure I'm right on one thing. You pointed out a change on page 5, down there, lines 107 to 111.
Yes.
And this is when you're discussing a radiologist assistant,
right?
What they can do. The way I understood part of the compromise is that the board can expressly restrict that activity.
Yes.
And so that's sort of your check and balance, that they can do it unless the board steps up and says certain actions we do not believe are appropriate.
That's right.
So we're still leaving that with the board. And that is a composite medical board? Is that who we're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
They had total oversight over this. The radiology assistants who are in the state of Georgia right now but are not recognized as they are in other states act like a tech. So they're doing non-invasive, MRIs, that kind of thing. There are some techniques that are done in other states, needle-guided procedures, that may be in the future, but this is just a first step. That would also be oversight of the board. The radiologist that came to me that talked about this said that they would train just like a medical residency in the hospital with oversight of the board. So the board would have oversight and licensing ability. So it's going to be tightly held. The reason this bill was brought is because we're not producing enough radiologists at this point. So with the limited ability of a tech right now, or a radiology assistant, which is above what a tech is. With their limited scope of what they can do now, things are getting held up. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I've had a couple MRIs, and you wait a week or so, and then you wait a few days before you hear the results. Well, if you've got cancer, or somebody in your family has cancer, you want to get this done as soon as possible. And the radiologists want it done as soon as possible, and our hospitals. So everybody's looked at this and have been in agreement. That's it.
Are there any questions from members of the board? Committee? All right. Mr. Pro Tem, you are recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm new to this board, this committee, representative, so
Okay.
I didn't have the opportunity to hear the discussion last session, so forgive me if I'm trying to catch up here.
That's fine.
Uh,
You know insurance involved with this one.
You and I have worked a lot together on,
Yeah.
on a lot of other issues, trying to solve some of our healthcare workforce issues, and I know that this is creating a new license, and I have just naturally concerns that we're putting more barriers to the workforce and to people getting, in shortage of providers and getting the care they need. I do appreciate the substitute language that allows them to do some things under general supervision. The bill I first read only had direct supervision all through it, and that gave me pause. But I guess my question would be, how many hospitals are you aware of now that are using radiology assistants? Because a lot of my area is rural, and I'm not sure they even have radiology assistants.
Yeah, some hospitals do not use them. I believe the one in Athens, Mr. Chairman, does not have one. We actually had testimony from one of the radiologists over there, and the reason they don't is because they're not in code. So they're concerned about using a radiology assistant. This allows this to go into code, oversight with the board. We've met with the board. We've been through this. The board approves this, and really, I think the board's looking forward to this. It will expand access. But yeah, this is a good question.
You need to follow up?
Yes, sir,
Go right
if you
ahead.
don't mind. Representative, couldn't the Composite Medical Board, don't they have the authority to define the scope of practice for radiology assistance currently without us putting it in code?
We had that discussion, and I think they're more comfortable if it is in code. They're going to provide oversight, and once this is established, probably come back with additional duties. But I believe it was the feeling of the board to have this in code.
I know we got a lot of business, but do you mind if I ask a couple
No, go
more?
right ahead, Will. We just got 3 bills.
So, Representative, this does not in any way impede the ability of radiology technologists, or rad techs, to do their job that they're currently doing?
No. This adds radiology assistants, which are in the state, but are licensed as an assistant because we don't recognize them. But no, it does not affect the rad techs at all.
And Representative, currently we allow physician assistants and advanced nurses to work under a protocol agreement with a physician with general supervision. Direct supervision, as you well know, means the radiologist has to be physically
That's right.
in the same building and physically present.
That's right.
Does that not, why would we not treat these the same way we treat physician assistants or advanced
That's
nurses?
a very good question. Under general supervision, they will be doing non-invasive procedures. Invasive procedures, which are needle-guided procedures under fluoroscopes, where they can see the needle going, that would be under direct supervision. That's an invasive procedure. We're not going there with this, but that may be there in the future.
Right now, there is not a license for a radiologist assistant.
That's right.
So it gives you that authority to set the criteria to get that license and training, education, and maintaining the
Composite Board of
license.
Medicine gives them the ability to do that.
If a hospital's daring, they could go ahead and hire somebody to be a radiologist assistant now. They just would be an unlicensed person.
That's right. What I understood from your area and some others, they worried about the liability of having a
Exactly.
radiology assistant, which is not recognized in the state of Georgia.
How many other states do recognize it? It's
Yeah,
not
I don't know. I know
uncommon.
there's a school in North Carolina, right across the state line, that actually trains radiology assistants.
Okay. Other members have questions for Representative Hawkins? Can you repeat the two changes? The first
Sure.
one was on page 5.
Yeah, page 5, lines 107 to 111, adds provision for non-invasive procedures under general supervision. Page 8, line 171, now this is a change to what you have presently. I'm asking the committee to amend from January to July, because it doesn't give enough time since the bill is now at this point in the second session. And the same thing on line 181, January to July, change that. On page 8, line 182, provision for RAs or RE in the state must apply for the board by license of that date. That is what I'm referring to on changing that date to July. On page 8, line 187, same thing as we talked about earlier, allows for general supervision of non-invasive procedures.
Senator Albers for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Hawkins, always great to see you. Love all the wonderful work you do.
Thank
For the
you.
date, knowing that if this bill passes through and the governor signs it, it would be effective July 1. They may have a very short window. I know the original bill was looking at January 1st, 26. Should it not be January 1st, 27 to give them time from the governor's signature to implement it?
I've asked that question. Is Becky Riles in here?
She's behind you.
Would you like to address that? She represents the radiology assistants.
Come on up, Ms. Ross. I thought that's the change you were asking for, is change that January 1st, 26 to 27.
He said July.
No, actually, July of 26.
Okay. Ms. Ross?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Becky Riles, representing the Association of Radiologic Technologists, who serve first as RTs, and so they become a rad tech, and then this radiologist assistant gives them a career path. Currently, when they go into clinical practice as a rad tech, that's as far as they can advance. When they go back to school to become a radiologist assistant, then it gives them a clinical path to stay in medicine and function at a higher level. So in answer to your question about the dates, we had discussed this last session, and the agreement was if we gave them the 6-month window, because it says on or after July 1st, 2026. So that would then leave it open to the board to set the timeline that is conducive for them. But we're happy to change that date to whatever you think appropriate, Mr. Chairman.
We've had this discussion. I made your point too.
Okay.
And the other answer to the question that was asked is the number of states. There are 32 states who license radiologist assistants. There are numerous hospitals as well as radiology groups, outpatient radiology groups who hire radiologist assistants. And the others, as Chairman Hawkins mentioned, they would like to hire radiologist assistants, but they are reluctant to without the licensure and oversight. In fact, I've had radiologist assistants come to me and say, the hospital won't credential them because they are not a licensed healthcare professional. So we see this as a pathway to expand the healthcare workforce, to move some rad techs into becoming a radiologist assistant if they so choose. If they would prefer to stay a rad tech, then of course that is their option. This just would create a mid-level provider to expedite the work that a radiologist does, both in the procedure room as well as interpretation. Because one of the biggest things that an RA will do for a radiologist is keep them in the reading room longer. They can do a lot of work in prepping a patient before a diagnostic study. And so it would allow the RA to help make sure the patient is ready, prepared, has done the preparation work prior to coming in that day. And then the radiologist can come in and assist with that procedure as clinically appropriate.
Do you know whether Medicaid or Medicare or insurance reimbursement rates vary for a radiologist assistant versus a radiology tech?
Currently, CMS recognizes radiologist assistants, but we are not quite there in this billing process. So once Medicare does recognize radiologist assistants to be able to bill as other mid-levels do, such as just other mid-level providers who were recognized by Medicare and CMS to bill, we feel that that eventually will come, but we are not there yet, which is why for patients in Georgia, this will increase the access, expedite the access to a diagnostic study, and also give them results in a more timely fashion. So those are our two goals.
But as of
now.
now, it will not increase the patient's cost because that person cannot bill independently.
That is correct.
That's a win-win.
Okay,
Any
can I
other
close?
questions?
Can I
Yes, go
close the
right
loop on
ahead,
that?
Senator
I'm
Alvarez.
not sure I got to the end of my question there. I believe what you said was the Composite Medical Board was looking for that 6-month time frame, knowing that if this bill passes and the governor signs it, it comes on July 1st. It seems consistent with what you say that would push that to 2027 of January 1. Does that not make sense?
Last year's bill, you wanted January 26, if we had passed it in March of 25.
Right. I'm okay with that. I mean, you know, the question is, the people already out there, do they have time to make the application that are RAs but not recognized as RAs? You know, I think that's fine. We've had this discussion. They felt like they wanted to, you know, have a sooner date, but I see your point. I saw your point before, so I'm okay. It does say on or after on line 171. Maybe it should say on or after that July date also, so it gives them the flexibility.
I'm not trying to talk you into it, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to make sure we're consistent.
Yeah, so I will take your change.
I will note that the bill is effective upon signature. This one doesn't have an effective date of July 1st.
Right.
We're going to be out hopefully April 2nd. So what's that give the governor till May the 2nd or thereabouts to sign? So this could be effective
That's right.
sooner than July, but we will defer. I mean, what are your wishes on this? We want to get it right, but,
No.
you know,
I would say on or after July on line 181, include that. So just like on 171, so it gives flexibility.
so you need
On
changes.
or after, you know,
You would
gives the board
change both
flexibility.
lines, 171 and 181?
yes, sir.
I got it.
Senator Alvarez, is that
Yeah.
good with you?
Anybody got
Yeah.
Yeah.
further questions?
Okay.
All right, we got a couple other people signed up. Scott Young, if you are with us. You- Oh, your next bill, okay, good. So we have nobody against your bill, or anybody else for it
They've
either.
all
doesn't look
passed
like.
away by now.
Yeah. You're recognized, Senator, again.
Mr. Chairman, if it's not too much trouble and somebody knows all those changes we made, I move do pass.
All right, well, let's now have discussion on that and any proposed amendments. Senator Albers, I'm going to recognize you for an amendment if you are so inclined.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, what's your preference?
I'd like to amend LC 461244.
Beginning on line 171 by striking January, the fourth word, and replacing it with July. And then again on line 181, toward the back end of that sentence, striking the word until and adding on or after, striking the word January, replacing it with July, making both of those 2026 as they are.
Ben, you got that? Okay. Is there a second to that amendment? Second by my Vice Chairman, Senator Summers. Any discussion on that? All right, all in favor of the Albers Amendment, raise your hand. Are there any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, now back to you, Senator Ginn. So your motion now would be to pass as amended, LC 461244S. And it's seconded by Chairman Albers. Any discussion on the bill at this point? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. And any opposed, like sign. Once again, that passes unanimous. Mr. Chairman, do you know who you'd like to carry this for you in the Senate? I may not ask you till you get the rules, but we'd like to go ahead.
Senator Albers was going to do for me last year. You still up for that?
Glad to.
I appreciate it.
All righty. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being with us.
Thank you.
Hope to see you
Appreciate it.
again this year.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, one up, one down. Let's move on through the list, folks. I'm gonna now call up Senate Bill 146. Senator Williams, you are carrying this one.
Yes, sir.
You may speak from your seat if you'd like to, or go to the podium, whatever is most comfortable with you.
I can just speak from here if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
All right, that'll be just fine. We have your bill in our folder. You might want to tell them just briefly the history of this. This is your baby.
Thank you. Committee, this bill came about because of a cemetery up in North Georgia that was on the, it was on some land that was acquired by a landowner. She purchased some land, and it had an old cemetery on this land. The cemetery, the Eden Cemetery, was over 100 years old, and it was a family cemetery. And this person decided they wanted to build a house where this cemetery was located. They went to the coroner to try to get the graves moved, and just old historical cemetery, and the coroner, declined that they didn't need to move those graves. This landowner actually went and hired someone to move the headstones off this cemetery and take them to another cemetery about 15 miles away and just stack them over to the side. This is just closing up the loopholes to make it stronger. And apparently she had not seen the movie Poltergeist. I don't know if any of y'all did, but I saw it and I don't want to see it again.
We told you this was a fun committee. Welcome on board.
But that's what this bill is to make sure that these cemeteries are respected, not abused. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I was told about another one here in one of the suburbs right outside of Atlanta that a church had closed down. Another church bought that existing church building, had an existing cemetery over 100 years old on it also. And they've started putting fence around it and restricting how, and it's an active cemetery. A funeral home here in Atlanta had to go take down part of the fence in order to get even the pallbearers to walk in to carry the casket. So be glad to answer any questions.
Just a couple from me. So and I'm going largely by my memory from last year and the summary that our office has given us here. It sounds like under your bill, you now have to have a permit to disinter and reinter remains. Is that currently the law? You would have to do that? You're mentioning just family members or whoever digging bodies up and moving them.
Well, it is, and it's actually already more stringent than it used to be. In Macon, Georgia, there was a couple that was divorced, and the father went and had disinterred a child and carried the child's grave and marker to Kentucky, I believe it was. He got there and he didn't have a permit, so he couldn't inter the child in a cemetery in Kentucky without that permit. So DPH has strengthened the permitting process a couple of years ago that whoever is applying for the permit has to prove kinship now. So that's already been strengthened, that I couldn't just go get a permit to disinter any grave. I've got to prove kinship and next of kinship, that you have the rights for disposition.
Who
now.
issues these permits?
These permits are issued by the probate judge in most counties, or health department, or vital records. In some counties, it would be the health department, and a lot of counties, it would be the probate court.
And currently, you have to have that permit before you can disinter and reinter a body.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Can you do it in a cemetery that has not been abandoned?
You can do that in any cemetery, and it also lays out in this code section what an abandoned cemetery is. There's one change in this bill that I wish to make, though, and that was on line 491. This is talking about establishing a private cemetery on private property. Right now, it has at least 1 acre in size. I wanted to move that to a ½ acre. So if anyone wanted to create a cemetery on private property, they would have to set aside at least a ½ acre. Also, what this bill addresses in this bill, and one Representative Jesse Petrie had this situation come up in Burke County, Georgia. His old family cemetery is located on a farm of about 250 acres. Someone from Florida came up and bought that farm and then put up a fence and no trespassing sign. So they're not able to maintain their family cemetery. So what this does is also gives you an avenue to seek relief through a Superior Court judge, and that he can work out when you may be able to go to that cemetery, to maintain it, clean it up, to make sure that it stays maintained. But it leaves that up to the Superior Court to make that decision in relation, and not to interfere with the property owner's rights of enjoying his property. But it does give the heirs to that cemetery access to go to the cemetery to maintain it and keep it up.
Does current law require any movement of a grave to be supervised or monitored or carried out by a funeral director, or is that a change your bill's making?
No, that is now, if you move a grave in the same cemetery, a funeral director does not have to be present. Under this bill, it would. And if an old grave is disturbed, then an archaeologist that has been trained to recognize and realize what they're doing, and to do the grave moving, and a licensed funeral director has to be there to supervise this also.
Current law, or you're making that be the law?
That's in this law, yes, sir.
The change that you're
change,
presenting.
uh-huh.
All right, so you're now requiring that if this permit is granted, it must be monitored, supervised, or carried out by a licensed funeral director.
Well, yes, sir. That's on line 403
Okay.
by the applicant's archaeologist and a licensed funeral director.
Okay. Senator, again, you have a question, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know a whole lot about cemetery business, but I had a constituent that was trying to move a cemetery, or a grave, a single grave, that was out in the middle of a pasture. Said and it was more complicated than any lawyers we could find that wanted to touch it. Said, and what happens? My question is, at the end of the day, would that constituent be able to have clear guidance about all the things that got to happen, and can an average lawyer figure out what steps got to happen to make a single grave move out of a pasture?
Right. He's going to first of all have to prove direct lineage, kinship, even by blood or adoption, and the line of kinship.
I don't know that there's any relatives of this person still alive, but if that was, what happens if
But
there
he
is
could
or is not?
petition the county to allow him to move that grave to another cemetery, and this would allow this and outline the procedure in which that could happen.
So it would be, it's spelled out here pretty
Yes, sir.
clear.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And then one of the things that I'm sitting here, and when I look at the very first page, I'm not sure exactly what it means, but before we get to line 1, it says moot. And I don't know what moot is all about. If you look at the top right-hand side of the page.
Bill did not pass the Senate. Usually it'll say as passed, where this bill passed the committee. I believe it got out of rules and was put on the
So what does moot mean?
calendar. The bill didn't pass.
Okay,
We're back to start.
okay. So it's a total new bill.
Well, every one of them is.
Okay.
Everything that didn't pass got recommitted to where they came, and we're starting from scratch. But this is the one we're considering, is the same version that passed this committee last year and was put on the general calendar but never called up. All right.
Never had seen that moot and
That's
it's recognized.
old legal word. Senator Summers.
Senator, several cemeteries down in my area, very old, dilapidated graves. This bill it doesn't change. Anybody can go in there and fix those graves up without permission. They can bring them up to standards and new. I mean, they're made out of brick. I'm sure you've seen those things. They're falling in. They're gone. I mean, does this bill change any of that? Can they just family members go in there and fix those graves?
Yes, they can.
Okay,
Yes, they
no
can.
questions asked.
Just make sure that they are given permission and the rights to access that cemetery.
That cemetery.
To restore the graves, yes.
Okay.
All right, I had one other, when y'all got me thinking now about the timeliness of this. Your bill last year was intended to be effective, I think, July 1st of 2025. Now, we're past that. Oh, I saw it somewhere. 46.
486 or 494.
Okay. So you got two different places. Is that something you want to change, just like
Certainly.
Representative Hawkins did?
What line again?
496, no, what'd you say? 494.
489, also July 1, 2025, we can do 2026.
Basically, anywhere this references July 1, 25, you would change that to
To
July 1,
26.
26.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm looking at line 486 for sure,
Right.
and 494. Ben, what else did you find? Those just the two? All right, so that will be a friendly amendment if somebody chooses to bring that to get you up
Yes,
to
sir.
date. Okay, are
Yes,
there
sir.
other questions from committee members? How about some minority members? Y'all got any questions? Got any family cemeteries in y'all's districts? Luke? No, they got them down in Macon. You got big, did Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
All right, I'll recognize my vice chairman for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we do pass this with an amendment on line 490.
Let's get it on the
Amendment,
floor
give me the amendment.
first.
Yeah, get an amendment.
So you're moving do pass LC 550532S.
Yes.
And there's a second by Senator Albers. Now, any discussion or any proposed amendments?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
You may.
I'd like to make an amendment to line 494 to change 2025, 2026.
Okay.
On line 496, I'd like to change from 1 acre to a half acre.
And back up
And then
one
go back one page back. On line 486, from July 1st to 2025 to 2026.
Any discussion on that proposed amendment? Is there a second, I guess, first for your amendment? Second by Senator Albers once again. All right, having no discussion, we'll take a vote on that. We'll call it the Summers Amendment.
You got line 486.
Yep. Raise your hand if you're in favor of
The
the
half
amendment.
acre, Mr. Chairman,
It has three things. On line 486, he changes the date to 2026. On line 494, he changes it to 2026, and on line 496, he changes it to 1/2 acre. You gotta pay attention in this committee.
know.
All right, you're on it, okay. All right, let's roll. All in favor, raise your hand.
Got to roll, baby.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Now we'll go to the measure as amended. The motion is do pass LC 550532S as amended. Any discussion? You content with this? Yes, sir. All right, all in favor? Raise your hand. All opposed? Raise your hand. All right, it passes unanimously. All right, what'd you say down there, Senator? We're rolling?
Roll it.
All right, we got lots of bills to deal with. Let's move them on.
I like your new haircut you got.
Senate Bill 239, originally authored by Senator Walker, but the new sponsor is again Senator Williams. We're going to finish up these undertaker bills and figure out what your other skill set might be here in the next couple of months.
I'm not sure we want to know that.
We're going to let you present it to us, and we actually, this one might be controversial. We have two people signed up to testify, so you need to be persuasive.
I think I can be persuasive on this. I graduated Mortuary College March of 1972, and back then, you may have one cremation a year. And back then, you did not have to be an embalmer to be a funeral director. The law in Georgia was you could register and serve apprenticeship for 3 years, register to take Georgia test, and if you passed them, then you became a funeral director. In order to be an embalmer, you had to go to Mortuary College. In 1976, the law changed, trying to upgrade the profession and get everybody educated. Well, we moved and we were professional and proud of the fact. Now, in 2026, over 50% of the deaths in Georgia are cremated. We no longer are embalming. You remember last year we even started composting human remains. So what this does is goes back to where you don't have to be an embalmer to be a funeral director. Back when I was growing up, my father was not an embalmer. He was just a funeral director. My mother was a funeral director. I have an older sister who's a funeral director. They were not embalmers. There are a lot of funeral homes that are owned by people that are not embalmers, and they just hire trade embalmers. There are people who do that for several funeral homes. So what this bill does is goes back, and it's kind of like, and I compare it to like my regular physician. He's not a surgeon. He's a family practitioner. If I need surgery, he'll refer me to someone for surgery. He's not a cardiologist. He is just a general practitioner. So what this also does keep into effect, anyone who is the funeral director in full and continuous charge of a funeral home would still need to be a licensed funeral director and embalmer. So each funeral home pretty much would have a funeral director embalmer that's in full and continuous charge. But matter of fact, I have a guy that has worked for me for 50 years. This year, he has worked for me for 50 years. And he went to Mortuary College and became a funeral director embalmer. Actually won the valedictorian of Gupton Jones Mortuary College here in Atlanta. Can he embalm a body? No. He can tell you how, he can quote the book, but can he do it? No. Would he do it? No. Has he ever done it? No. But he got his license. But in simple, just putting it in plain fact, that everybody, and we had a meeting at A.S. Turner Funeral Home that's owned by Cy Hume, who's here in life, and signed up to speak. And there was one African-American funeral director that was here that owned one of the big funeral homes, and I know Mr. Hume can relay who it was, but he had 14 embalmers, and none of them, they didn't want to wait on a family. They didn't want to direct a funeral. All they wanted to do was embalm. And he had funeral directors that didn't want to embalm. All they wanted to do was wait on families and take care of funerals. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman. I hope I was persuasive.
I was lost about a third of the way into it. Right now, if your bill doesn't pass, what do you have to do to embalm somebody? Don't tell me how you do it. What's your educational requirements?
You mean a body?
Yeah, a body.
Well,
Do you have to have a degree or not to be an embalmer?
yes, you have to attend mortuary college, and I forget how many hours. It's almost an associate
You
degree.
gotta be licensed.
Got to be licensed.
What about a funeral director?
You've got to be licensed. The other issue,
So what do you,
Mr.
I don't
Chairman-
see what you're changing then.
Well, what it does, let me explain it this way. And this goes into relationship to one of the bills we passed a few years ago of military couples. A military couple moved from Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky. Any of them moved to Georgia, and their spouse is a funeral director in those states, cannot be reciprocated into Georgia to practice funeral directing because they're not an embalmer. So this also opens up, I think there's 26 states that you do not have to be an embalmer to be a funeral director. But this also will allow this military spouse who's a funeral director in one of these other states to be able to come into Georgia, get licensed, and go to work.
Okay, right now in Georgia, you can either be an embalmer or you can be a funeral director, or if you do all the education and licensing, you can be both.
You have to be both in Georgia right now.
All right.
This license is fixing it so that you do not have to be both.
Okay.
It's
You
relaxing.
can embalm without being a funeral
You
director,
can-
or you can direct without embalming.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay, what do? You do both of them?
I do both, yes, sir.
Okay.
I've had my license since 1974.
Okay. And this
I'm a
makes it
dinosaur.
easier to recognize folks coming in from other states without having to do the educational things if they're already licensed as one or the other.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, question? Senator Summers.
Senator, when you started your comments a while ago, you started off with talking about 50% of the people now, or 50% of the families are choosing to be not embalmed. You're going through the
Cremation.
cremation. How does that affect? Do you have to be an embalmer or a licensed funeral director to do a cremation? How does that work?
No, in Georgia, you have to be trained to do cremation, to be a crematory operator. But you can actually be trained to be a crematory operator without being a funeral director or an embalmer. But just has got to have a funeral director in charge of it.
Thank you.
Senator, again, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we started talking about what's going on in the grave, and, you know, some of these things are pretty old. But I think about, okay, typically when somebody is cremated, there's some ashes that are given back to the family. It said, here's the ashes of Uncle Fester or whoever it might be. Can an individual do anything they want to with those ashes, or is there a requirement that they say, no, you got to keep them, or can you spread them out on the ground, or, you know, I've had a lot of people tell me what they've done with Uncle Fester,
50-yard
but
line.
I don't know that it's all legal, and I'm kind of wondering.
According to the Georgia death certificate, the crematory is where the disposition takes place. Once you give the cremains back to the family, they can do with them as they wish. Some people keep them, some people scatter them, some people
Turn a maiden into a diamond.
can turn them into a diamond. They can load them into fireworks and load them into shotgun shells and have them over Dove Field on opening day. That sounds like something you might like.
Bam, bam. There you go.
Is that the
I just-
ashes to ashes, dust to dust thing?
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
I learn something every day here, Mr. Chairman.
Senator
Thank you.
Lucas.
I just want to know, anybody been cremated or embalmed complaining about it?
Not yet.
If anybody doubts the value of a citizen legislature, this is an example how we have experience in many different areas in serving in our state legislature. All right, we got two people signed. You got a question? All right, two people signed up to speak. I'll get back to Scott Young. I was about to make you talk about something different there earlier. If you would introduce yourself and then give us your thoughts on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name's Scott Young. I represent the largest provider of death care services in North America, as well as Georgia. I'm currently dual licensed, as Senator Williams pointed out, both in Indiana and Georgia. I've been in the industry over 50 years. I, like Senator Williams, I don't do both. I've never embalmed in my professional career, only waited on families. So I think our experience in the industry gives me these key points, and I think he pointed out, I'm probably going to step on his toes a little bit, but he's very persuasive. We strongly support this bill, allowing for a separate license for a funeral director and embalmer, as endorsed by Senator Williams, as we did last year as well. The 2024 data that we get from the Cremation Association of North America, as he pointed out, reflects that approximately 55% of the families in Georgia select cremation as opposed to a traditional funeral service, or what we used to refer to as a traditional funeral service, that's now becoming traditional itself. In addition to that, with no embalming, you have religious groups, i.e. Jewish families that don't embalm. You have Muslim families that don't embalm and find it very offensive that for them to open up a location, they would have to go to mortuary school. In addition, this bill, we're not modifying, as he pointed out, the requirement to be dual licensed to be the funeral director in full and continuous charge. That person who is responsible for the day-to-day activities that go on throughout the entity. They need to know everything about the industry. So with that, there are no surrounding states of Georgia who require dual licenses. As Senator Williams pointed out, there are 26 that currently don't have them. But if you look at a geographical map, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, do not require dual licenses. So with that, I'll keep it brief. I know you've been here a long time today, and appreciate your time. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Was I more persuasive than Senator Williams?
Incredibly, it must be. I see no questions so far. Any questions by committee members? All right, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. One more speaker, Cy Hume, A.S. Thurman and Sons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. My name's Cy Hume. I represent A.S. Turner and Sons Funeral Home here in Decatur, one of the largest family-owned firms. Unlike my colleague Scott, he's got the whole country. I just got Atlanta, so or Decatur. We've been around since 1903, and A.S. Turner's has always been on the forefront of what's coming new or what families are requesting. Just like last year, I stood here before you about the NOR bill, and that was passed. We already have that equipment in our facility and ready for families to use if they choose to use that. An embalmer is not required for that, not even needed. This bill does not diminish our profession in any way. It actually adds to our profession in the sense that we have, just like Senator Williams was mentioning about my colleague, Mr. Levitt, I have embalmers at my facility I would not put in front of a family if I had to. They could not say the right words that just comforted that family. But I have funeral directors that I could not put in the back to make things work well in the back and give a presentation to a family. This bill does not take away any education from being a funeral director or being an embalmer. And kind of in answer to your other question that you want to ask about the licensure requirements in Georgia, you have to be a licensed embalmer today before you can be a funeral director. That was something that was fixed in 1976 or 77.
So that's before you can be a funeral director?
That's correct.
So every funeral director in Georgia is a licensed embalmer?
No, sir. There was some grandfathered in people that were grandfathered prior to 1976 to still be a funeral director. I'm sorry.
All of them that are under 50 then?
correct.
Okay,
All the younger people, that's right.
yeah.
But all we're doing is separating the fact that you can go one path or the other. You're still going to be required to serve an apprenticeship. You're still going to be required to go to mortuary school. Instead of taking embalming courses, you're going to take counseling or business courses that would better suit you as being a funeral director versus being an embalmer. And if you want to do both paths, that just makes you more valuable to me as a business owner.
Is anybody against this? I hadn't heard anybody in the last year come argue against this bill.
Everybody that I've heard of that is against it hadn't read the bill.
Okay,
There's nothing that takes anything away from our profession with this bill.
okay. I hadn't heard any pushback. Any committee members have questions? I didn't. Yes, sir. Senator Lucas, you're recognized.
I think what has happened, there used to be a fight between embalmers and funeral directors. Because you had some folks for years had got grandfathered in because they had owned a funeral home, and say the wife ended up inheriting the funeral home and never embalmed about it, but they got a funeral director's license. I think it's pretty well known with everything that's going on, it's vice versa. Now they've worked it out, is what has happened. They've worked out the fight between the embalmer and the funeral director, so
Okay.
now we're on one accord for dead folks.
You may want to make a motion. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Senator, you're recognized.
Thank you,
Jackie.
Mr. Chair. What about the, has anyone spoken to or heard from the funeral home directors or associations, or are they in favor, or are they,
We have one of our very own that's carrying the bill.
I know, but it's members,
in favor.
members of the organizations? Okay.
Mr. Hume is a member of the Georgia Funeral Directors Association. I've not heard anything from them. I'm not an active member. I am a member of the Georgia Funeral Practitioners Association, which is the African American funeral directors. I'm a member of theirs, and I've not had any opposition from that.
But I want to be clear on something. I do not represent Georgia Funeral. I represent A.S. Turner and Sons as a privately independent firm here in Atlanta.
How's this help your company?
This gives me the ability to hire people to wait on families. We're not getting the people in that want to do both anymore. They don't want to go to the back and be in it. You get a group of people, yes, you do get a group of people that's all they want to do is be in the back and embalm and work in the crematory and work in that side of things. But you need a compassionate person to be up front. And you can't always get both in one. I am a Georgia licensed funeral director, both an embalmer and a funeral director. I went to mortuary school 35 years ago. And having a compassionate person to be up front, a minister, a therapist, or however you want to look at it, they don't want to be in the back. That's not their cup of tea. We could hire people. It's not going to diminish their pay. It's going to keep pretty much the same. But I will tell you that an embalmer will be most likely down the road, an embalmer will be more valuable to me because there won't be as many. But this bill does not diminish the education.
All right, so they're equally qualified after we pass this bill as they were before.
In my opinion, yes, sir.
Any other questions from committee members? I'll recognize the Dean of the Senate if you got a motion over there, my friend.
Move approval.
Got a motion to pass. And what we're gonna be talking about, let me make sure I got the right LC numbers, is LC 550528. I got a motion to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Any proposed amendments? Senator Walker,
I think on line 173, Mr. Chairman.
and change that date.
Change the date.
All right, from 2025 to 2026. Ben, did you see that anywhere else in the bill where the date's referenced? I reckon we're gonna have to do this on every bill that's been recommitted. All right. So there's a motion to amend the date by President Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Summers. Any discussion on that amendment? Any opposition from you, Mr. Sponsor?
No, I'm fine,
All right.
thank you.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. That amendment unanimously passes. Now we have before us a motion do pass LC 550528 as amended. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed, like sign? That also passes unanimous. Boy, we are singing from the same page in here today. All right, I'm showing on my clock 6:25. We're not going to have time to hear Senate Bill 34. Senator Huffstetler anticipated that, and I noticed he's not even here for it, so he knew we were going to run shy of time. I'm going to go ahead here just shortly and adjourn us. I do want to mention to committee members and those that are senators that are not on this committee, I have 17 remaining Senate bills that have been recommitted to this committee or else never passed the committee last year. So in the breast of the committee, we have 17 bills before any new ones even get introduced this year. If any of you have a bill in this committee that you want heard, please let me know. You don't have to have a formal letter. You can give me a phone call or come see me on the floor. It's fine, and I'll make a note of it. But if you want to, drop something off with Paige in our office, and I will try to get you on our schedule. We're going to try to move through some of these bills in the next couple of weeks before the new action gets going. And it may be, sometimes I have people that, that there was a House version of their bill that passed, or they've changed their focus or moving on to other issues, so you're not required to, but don't expect me to be putting things on unless I just have a special interest in it, unless you request it. So with that, we're adjourned. See everybody Thursday afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good work.